Today we're going to be building a nightstand for my daughter Madison. So to get started, we went ahead and cut everything down using the Craig track saw. This is an excellent product for being able to break down plywood safely and efficiently. We just put a piece of 1.5 inch rigid foam board below it, and that acts as the sacrificial cutting board below it, as well as supporting the entire piece of plywood. They also recently just came out with a cool product called a panel carrier, and it's just a clamp that allows you to be able to easily carry a sheet of plywood by yourself. With all the plywood cut down, now we can move on to the assembly process. And for that, we're gonna need to drill some pocket holes in these two pieces of plywood, which are gonna act as our sides for the nightstand, and then we're gonna mount them to the 2x2 legs. Let's get started. Okay, so now we're going to assemble the bottom of the nightstand. Now the bottom of the nightstand is basically a sheet of plywood with a 2x2 on the front of that, and that's gonna frame up nicely with the 2x2 legs. So we're drilling all the pocket holes around this sheet, which will connect to the sides and the back, and then I'm going to secure the 2x2 to the front of it with 1.25 inch pocket hole screws. So since these pocket holes are exposed on the inside, I'm going to go ahead and fill them with pine pocket hole plugs. We've just applied a little bit of wood glue in each pocket hole and filled those, and then we'll come back and we'll trim those off and sand them down, fill them with wood filler, and make it nice and smooth for the paint when that goes on. Okay, so we got the base all assembled, and the way that I did that was I took the sides, installed the back on one of those, and then this bottom portion. Once we got that, we flipped it over and then attached it to the other side. Now we need to install the top. So I've got this shelf or scrap piece of wood that is going to act as a spacer, and that's going to give me exactly 29 inches, which is exactly what I have here. So when I secure these, I know that it's going to be nice and square. We've got the 3/4 inch plywood top that we've gone ahead and edge banded, and now I've got a 1/2 inch overhang. I'm just going to secure the base to the top with 1.25 inch wood screws. Okay, so we've got the nightstand built. Now we need to move on to the doors. For the doors, I'm going to be using 1x3 poplar just because it's a nice stable wood, so we're going to keep those doors nice and flat. And for the assembly of the doors, I'm going to be using pocket holes for this. Now this is an easier way to assemble doors. If you wanted to go the route of a mortise and tenon joint, you could do that by all means. I've got videos on that, routering and all that stuff. However, we're going to stick to the basics on this one and assemble those with pocket holes. We're going to glue those joints, and then we're going to come back and router the inside of those doors with a little rabbet or whatever you want to, basically create a step for an area to be able to attach our caning to. And we'll show you that in the next step. So with the nightstand primed and painted, as well as the shelf and the door frames, we can move on to completing the doors. Now when it comes to the doors, we're going to be installing caning, which in order to install that, the best way to do it is to soak the caning. So we're going to soak it for about 2 hours, and that kind of causes that caning to stretch out, and then we'll staple it in place in that little step down that we created around the inside of the door. Once we get it stapled in place, that caning will dry back up and tighten up that the webbing or whatever you want to call it inside of that door. When it comes to the shelf on the inside, we wanted to make it adjustable so that we could store some larger items up top and maybe some books or something down below. So we're going to be using the new Craig shelf pin jig in order to drill those holes on the front and back on both sides, and that way we can adjust those shelf pins and get that shelf to the desired height depending on what's stored in there. When it comes to installing doors, I've actually got an entire video on how to install concealed hinges and doors on a frameless cabinet, which essentially this is. It doesn't have that face frame. So if you want an in-depth tutorial on that, make sure you click on that link right there and it will take you right to it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this project. The nightstand, overall fairly simple design, however the caning on the doors really sets it apart. If you want the full plans for this project, make sure you hit that link right there, and that's gonna take you on over to the website. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, make sure you hit that one right there, and that will make sure that you don't miss out on any future project videos. Until next time, be safe and happy building.